And perichoresis is this technical term to try to describe the inner life of the three persons in the Holy Trinity. And so it's such a weird idea because, obviously we're not God and we don't quite have an experience of the totality of your person being completely present and inside of another person, and the totality of their person being completely embraced and received inside of you. And so what I've done is I've led you through a journey that there's a doctrine of God, and in the doctrine of God there's obviously a greater being than us, because otherwise why would we call him God at all, right? And that being is a person, not just a being, not just a force. That person seeks relationship. That relationship is a tremendously deep relationship, which is shaped by covenant. And God, since he is such a superior being to us, in fact, I even said the separation between us and him is infinite, he has to create a pathway where he's not only above us or only kind of at the same level of us. Only at the same level is immanence. And all immanence would be pantheism. Only above us is transcendence. And transcendence, all transcendence is deism. So a true vision of God can be neither deism nor pantheon. Can't be all transcendence and it can't be all immanence. Everybody just thinks, well, can't you just have both? Well, you have to have a pathway and a profound balance for both. And the way there can be that is covenant. Covenant is the way it can be that way. Because only then can God voluntarily condescend. That's the language of the confession. He lowers himself so that he can come face to face with us. And in face to face, you could be wholly naked and then two become united as one. Okay? That is the vision of God for persons to persons within human beings, for sure. And if you just say that kind of religiously to everybody, and people hear that as like love and they have a sentimental vision of love, then they go, oh, that sounds great, right? But what I want to push to you is it isn't simply just this is the closest that human beings can get to one another, is that the full totality of your person is supposed to be received in the other, and the full totality of the other person is supposed to be received in you and embraced in you, so that essentially their whole personhood indwells you. Your whole person indwells them, like makes your home with them. And this is why, like, just for instance, if you get married to somebody, and then let's just say you divorce them. Okay, you divorce them. You won't be a whole human being again, because you became a new person in a sense. You received a person into you, and their personhood now starts reshaping your mind, heart, and soul. And then your soul becomes more full by receiving another person. And then you don't become less you become more you, okay, through covenant. And then this other person indwells you. And then if you divorce them, now a piece of you is like, it's a horrible piece of violence inside your soul. You lose that person. Or to put it another way, if you become a widow or a widower and that person dies, why do people feel like they are less of themselves? Because they are. They actually are less. Because someone who they've received into the fullness of themselves has now died, and now like a part of them has like been lost. Okay, so if you really think about how covenant works, receiving and embracing love through the for you to embrace covenant, and then you get more people inside of you, you actually become more and more a fuller and bigger person. And the fullness of your person actually can't be actuated without other persons. Okay, so why is it like that? Why it's like that? Because God is like that. God is like that. And the word that the theologians have used to describe that reality is perichoresis. So the gift that God is trying to give us is the very life of the persons united, three in one, in the Holy Trinity. And he's trying to do this for us now as not God. We're not God, but we're like God. We're in the image of God. and we're in the image of God. The ancient Greeks used to talk about being an image of God primarily as being a reasoning creature. And then you can even see that in the Westminster Confession language. They're adopting Western language, kind of Greek philosophical language there. Reasoning creatures have the ability, and then they have the obligation to obey God, right? But so what is the big difference between human beings and other animals, other creatures? Well, we're a reasoning creature. That's one. We have mind and like will, right? Obviously, that's true. And you don't even need to be a Christian or read the Bible to know that's true. You just can experience it all the time. You're like, okay, hamster, human being. Okay, there's quite a lot of difference. Okay. And then you fish, human being. Okay, there's quite a lot of difference. You meet other human beings and then you read the Bible and you're like, God is a person. Oh, interesting. Okay. If you understand kind of like Hindu pantheism or the yin and yang of kind of like a Buddhist worldview, God, if they even call it God, the force that holds all things, isn't a person. But in the Bible, he clearly is a person. And so the goal of God was to make us fully persons. And this is the last point I'll end, and then that's it, which is that in the divine image in the Bible, what makes us fully a person like God is not actually, this is interesting, the highest attributes of being a person is not actually intellect or reasoning or will. Those are fundamentally basic. Of course, you got to have intellect, will, mind, heart, what you love, what you choose. That's all just basic. Of course, you have to have that. What makes us truly like God is that we can love. Okay. And we are capable of loving so that in who we are, we can be united to someone else to become one. And you wholly, without holding anything back, gives a full totality of yourself to the other. And you can receive the full totality of yourself, of them in you. And then you can have this profound oneness without losing your own personhood. See, like that's different from the Eastern worldviews where your personhood gets kind of just lost and now you're kind of one with the universe or something like that, right? But inside the Bible, you don't lose your personhood. Your personhood gets bigger and more fulfilled, not less fulfilled, through covenantal union, which is at the created level something like the deep and glorious life of God of perichoresis. And just think about this. If you think about the implications of this, if you can become more and more united to other people, because covenantal union at the most deep level on the earthly existence is seen in marriage. Okay, you become united and your bodies unite, but then marriage leads to family. And family means there's actually like a piece of your dad in you. There's a piece of your grandfather in you. That's why the Bible has all these genealogies. It's saying that if you have, 30 fathers, all those 30 fathers are part of you. So you see that? You can even see how the genealogy is like a picture of like those persons are in you. And you actually can't be fully you without all those other persons. It takes other persons to make you you, right? There's no such thing as a pure atomistic individual where you're just completely like this one atomistic individual, self-sufficient apart from other people. Your personhood is made by other persons. And the reason I'm pointing that out from the past, in the Bible, the tremendous hope, and this is wild, this is absolutely wild, right, is that you are going to have covenantal union with all the other people that are in the New Jerusalem. Okay, you can be with all the other people of God. Every time you meet somebody new and you do not know them, you know what it is? It's the beginning of the adventure of covenantal union. That's what it is. It's the beginning of the adventure of receiving a new person into you and giving your personhood to them. And then this beautiful things start to happen and they start to shape your personhood, and your personhood starts to grow bigger and richer and more complex and more beautiful. And what that means is what the human personhood can become is, and this is now getting really wild, is something like an infinite glory that can never stop. Okay, you get to heaven, And then we just start meeting more and more and more and more and more people, and you never die. And since you don't die and they don't die, that means as they start to come into you, and then they never die, and nobody ever like is wicked and sinful and divorces anybody else, their whole personhood starts to shape you. Their gifts and their glory starts to make you more rich and more wonderful, and your gifts then are given to them more rich, because that's what God is always doing. He's always giving us out of the radical generosity of his glory to shape us and make us more truly human, which is to say more truly like him. And when we get to heaven, this is what we're doing all the time. It's just that this is why within true Christianity, we have this really sentimental idea, oh, love other people. And then love other people is this feeling. No. Loving other people is to give them your personhood and the gifts of God given to you in your personhood, and to give your personhood radically generously. You're not just giving money. You're not just giving your time. You're giving you. That's what real love is. Real love is to give yourself. And then part of course, is to receive them. So in covenant, we're giving ourselves and we're giving and receiving. And this is the adventure that we're starting to do for all eternity. So when Jesus says that he's going to give us eternal life, this is it. Eternal life doesn't start when we get to heaven. It actually starts as soon as you're born again. Okay? Now let's stop.